Okay, we are going to just do a quick review of setting and plot because we want to make sure that we know about those when we continue to read our short stories and future novels. So first, setting is essentially the time and place of the action of what's happening in the novel or the short story. It can be clearly defined or it can be left up to the reader's imagination. Some things it might include are like geographic location, historical period. So if you're reading something from the past, that's something dealing with the setting. The season, like right now we're in fall, time of day, and the culture.
Stages of plot is something that you have been learning throughout your school career, and we know that you definitely learned it and touched on it in 6th grade. End of the year when you wrote your children's story, you used stages of plot. There are 5 stages, starting with the exposition, then rising action, going up to the climax, to falling action, and then down to the resolution of a story. The setting always is in the exposition along with characterization. You will see a stages of plot, a plot line, in both English classrooms, and we will be referring to it throughout the entire year when we are reading as well as writing.
With plot is the series of events, the 5 stages here. And it's usually centered around a conflict faced by the main character. So conflict we will review later in another video. That's awkward. So the exposition is going to be the first stage of plot. As Ms. Hanson said, it's where the setting happens, where we get a lot of that background information.
The rising action story is what is developing that conflict, that struggle that the main character is facing. It's like where the fun part starts to happen, where you really get into a story. It is building, it continues to build the conflict all the way up to the climax or that turning point or like the whole of a story.
The climax is the greatest interest of the story. This is going to be that main turning point. And it typically happens towards the end of the story. That's why you see that the rising action is bigger in the plot line than it is in the falling action, because that peak is later in the story. It's when the reader is more invested in the characters, so then it's even a bigger deal when the climax happens. At the climax, the conflict is usually resolved and the plot becomes clear, and then we see in the falling action how things kind of like lay out and how things are coming to a close. The tension is going to ease in the falling action, so again it's going to be starting to wrap up the story.
Then we always get to the resolution of the story. It is that final stage of plot. There is some sort of outcome that will happen in your story. It may be something that you expected, or it might be some surprise or twist that you didn't see coming.
We really want to emphasize that we're going to be using this all year long, so this is something that we really want to make sure that you grasp. This is just a review right now because we know you've learned it before, but be sure to ask questions if you are confused on anything, because again, we're going to be using it a lot.
And we can't wait to see how the roller coaster goes when it comes to stages of plot while reading.